let's start with the session. So, hello everyone, my name is Veerkumar Patil, and today I'll be speaking on the topic ensuring API security in connected vehicles. Okay, so before actually jumping onto the topic, I'll briefly introduce myself. So, I am Veerkumar Patil. I'm currently working at Red Hat as a principal software quality engineer. I have overall, more than 12 years of experience into IT, mostly into product-based companies. I joined Red Hat 3 years back as a senior software quality engineer, and with that I got an opportunity to work on different technologies altogether in terms of automation, and also got an opportunity to review a technical book that got published last year in 2023. So I'm also a technical reviewer of the book. With that introduction, let's go on to the agenda for the today's session. It's not connected. Maybe. Fine. I need to go back. Cool. So what we are going to cover in today's session. Okay. So first of all, we'll look at the role of API security in automotive ecosystem, the evolution of connected vehicles, security risk, some of the real-world API attacks that had happened on the cars, key security challenges, and then we'll have a question and answer. Okay. So when it comes to role of APIs, right, in terms of automotive, when I say automotive, I mean by a car. Okay. Imagine how the evolution in the car ecosystem or automotive ecosystem has done. Okay. So if you go to any automakers, right, maybe it's Indian brands or the foreign brands, you will see a lot of automakers have their own API. For example, so first point is automaker specific APIs. So basically, every car manufacturer has their own APIs developed that communicate or connect with their cars. Okay, so we are going to touch base on those. Then, if you go to any car today, right, it has navigation and infotainment APIs. Like that means you can have a Google Maps, the other third-party maps, along with some infotainment systems like. You can connect with Bluetooth, or you can even have the apps like Spotify, Ghana on the device or the car itself. Okay. Then the fleet management APIs, right? Some might be traveled here with Uber or Ola, or maybe they had done Rapido. These are the different fleet systems that interacts with your car. Okay, so we'll touch base on those. And lastly, we'll see some of the APIs which are related to vehicle diagnostics and maintenance. So basically, with car being connected to an internet and to cloud, this car generates a lot of data, and that help us to kind of diagnostics the status of the vehicle. Like it can dynamically, or at certain point of time, it can predict about the maintenance of your car. Okay, so these kinds of APIs are available with different connected vehicles. Okay, let me go on to the next slide. Okay, so I'll touch base on the automaker specific APIs. So what are the different applications of this particularly? Okay, so if you could see access to vehicle data, remote commands, and infotainment. Like if you heard of Tesla or other autonomous cars, right, that can be controlled with and remote. You don't need to go inside the car and do the stuff. Then vehicle location tracking, that like you might be seeing that you can lock a car even with the EVs, right, two-wheeler EVs. You can add a fence to your scooter or a car. That means you will not be able to take out that scooter out of that particular zone, and if somebody tries to go, it will give you an alert. So those kinds of integrations are also there. Smart assistant integration, like you can connect your mobile to your car and you can stream whatever you wanted to do from your mobile. You might have car, Android Play and Apple Play. So these are the applications, and navigation system inbuilt in your car that will take you from one location to other location as well. Okay, so these are automaker specific APIs. That means if you buy a car of BMW, they have their own set of application inbuilt. So those are and those interacts with their APIs. Then if we go ahead, why it's not changing? Okay, the fleet management API. Okay, so as I explained you earlier, the fleet management APIs are where you connect with Uber, Ola, Rapido, and all those things, right? Along with this, there are certain API or there are certain application that connects with the fleets, like the long distance cars, where long distance trucks that sends data, not data, the goods from one place to another place. So that is again a fleet management system where driver behavior monitoring and diagnostic is important. So for example, if somebody is traveling for a long distance, let's say from the top of Jammu Kashmir to the north, to the south, right, he has to have the sleep properly, right? So those kinds of behavior can be detected with the APIs that are inside a truck and can send that data to the actual fleet management system. Again, enable vehicle tracking, which will be common across all the APIs that we are going to see. Then real-time traffic updates, because if certain good needs to be delivered at location, they need to have the real-time traffic update, so that if there is a roadblock, right, they should be able to divert their way and reach the place at what time they wanted to go. And the fuel usage report, because these are the things that are pretty much important when it comes to fleet management APIs. Let's go on to the next. Navigation and infotainment. I covered it in the first slide, but still I'll touch base on those. Like route optimization, you might have already seen it on your mobiles, like where when there is a congestion, you get a alternate route suggested and you try to take that path. Real-time traffic updates, again, the same thing. Enable smartphone integration for navigation calls and media playback. Like it is common, even in the scooters, that EV scooters we have today, right? You can able to connect these things. And the music streaming integration in infotainment systems, like what I covered in the Apple Play or the Android Play. Now let's move on to the next slide. Vehicle diagnostic and maintenance API, which enables you to monitor the vehicle health, fuel efficiency, and predictive maintenance. Okay, so basically it tells when you need servicing for your car, is how your car is giving you the mileage, and it basically allows you to do analytics on top of it. Okay, so these are different integrators for your car, basically, or a vehicle. I would not say car, because there are different vehicles that are already connected to internet. Okay, so with that, right, so now we saw what we call it as like what are the applications of API in the car or the automotive ecosystems. Okay, but I'll just wanted to brief you on the evolution, rapid growth of automotive cyber incidences. Okay, so imagine in early 2010, like if somebody wants to steal a car or somebody wants to do something with their car, right, he has to physically present there and he has to break the glasses, and then based on that he can steal a car, or like he can damage the car. But with car being connected to internet, it is more and more and more prone to the attacks. Okay, and being API, it is being exposed to an API, right, it makes it more prone. So if you could see the trend over here, right, so from 2010 it goes on increasing, and from the 2017 till 2022 it has been completely exponential. So exponential in the sense, so there is a company called as Upstream Security. So they researched on the dark webs and publicly available car incidences. So they did a research on that, and built up analytics or say analysis, and they had come up with this particular publicly reported cyber incidences. And if you could see, right, the analytics and insight were 2023 to 2023 year till date, it was 1306. But alone in 2022, it's 268, which drilled down to increase in 87% of increase. And why this is happening is because the car is being connected and it has an API. Those are not properly secured. Let's go on to the next slide, okay? And majority of the automotive cyber attacks are remote, okay? So as I showed you on the previous slide, right, nearly all 2022 attacks are remote. So if you could see, 97% of the attack that had happened on the automotive cybersecurity risks are remote, okay? And over 2/3 of 2023 remote attacks were long range. That means those are being done for a longer period of time in order to break the system, okay? So with that, I'll move on to the next slide, where I'll be touch basing on some of the real world API attacks. Okay, so first of all, I'll talk about hacking Kia, which is the latest, happened in 2024, where the hackers or the security researchers were able to get into the car and control it remotely. Like, they can literally honk the car, they can start the lights, blink the lights with just a license plate number. So that means they are able to get the access from your just license plate. That means your car number or a vehicle number. They were able to find out, or able to hack into the car system, and they were able to, they even not stop there. They were able to get the PII information as well, personally identifiable information. That means the car is registered with whom, where that person is living, what are his other stuff, like which is very confidential. So this is one of the attack that has been recently happened in 2024. Again, the source of this is Upstream Security and publicly available forums, okay? And they never exposed how the security researcher has done this, but there are articles around it. Maybe I'll share towards the end of it, whatever the articles that I referred to, build these slides. Second is fleet of electric scooters hack at University of Maryland, okay? So there is a security researcher called as Sam Carey. He's a 19 years researcher, security researcher. Basically, he once went to a conference with his friend, like we are here, right? And you might have seen some electric scooters outside. So they, as a group of friends, they brought some scooters, and they were traveling around the campus, and they got an idea. Let's take the scooter, and let's go try to go into the app, how that app is connected. So luckily they got one scooter from their campus to one of his friend's room, where they can kind of proxy the connection with the app, and they were able to identify what are the different API calls that are happening. And they found certain API calls where they can literally flash on the lights, not a single scooter, but all the scooters around the campus, okay? So they were able to do it, and they started doing it at the midnight. And imagine 1,000 plus scooters parked in the office on the campus, honking at the same time, midnight, and lightning, like starting the lights at the same time, okay? So they were able to do it. They shared it with the scooter company, and they were able to fix that particular issue. That triggered them, if we can hack the scooter, can we do this with the car? So next, what they attempted is the hacking Tesla using third-party applications. Okay, the last point. Okay, so basically, the same person. There was another person called as David Columbio, who were able to get an access to Tesla's owners, basically. That is with the app that Tesla owners has installed on their car, which are third party. And that third party application was using some third party library which logs the data. And that logs were having some, confidential token logs into the system. So we're able to identify that and able to call the Tesla, and again he's able to control the, actually start the car, stop the car. Okay. Then there was a Series XM connected vehicle services. Again, this particular attack, Sam Curry is able to do connect with the car, able to hack into the system, get the personal information of the car owners. They were able to connect with the vendor, the dealers, and were able to, literally change the owner of the car. Okay, so imagine the impact of that it has on the actual customer or the user who is using the car. Then the EV station hacks. I think you might be aware that now the trend is of having the EV, electronic vehicles, and that are also connected. And there are certain charging stations that we have, and that had some displays over there, right? So one of the security researchers were able to connect onto the Windows operating system that was running on that particular kiosk, and were able to flash them some political messages on those screens, like some of the US politicians' messages on those screens. And lastly, I'll touch base on the Yandex taxi application. Okay, so in 2017, I guess Elon Musk once said that if somebody hacks a fleet management system and sends cars to road islands, and it will be mess. But the same thing happened in 2022, where basically one of the anonymous hacker were able to book a cab at a single place with a multiple. He had sent a request to multiple taxis of a Yandex. So it has resulted into a huge traffic jam at Moscow. Okay, so that was again another critical attack that happened in real time. Okay, so these are different real world attack that happened on the cars using the APIs. Okay, so what was common across these attacks? So either the APIs were there that are not having a proper authentication, broker object level authentication, security misconfiguration, or excessive data exposure. Again, lack of resource and rate limiting. For example, if somebody is booking at one place a car or a cab, right? Then there should be some validation. If the user should not do multiple requests or bulk requests. That comes under the lack of resources and rate limiting. Improper asset management, like the libraries that you use in your application, that should be properly integrated and working. Now let's move on to the next stuff. Okay, so before actually going into the question and answer session, I just wanted to say that you are or your car has been you're connected to cloud, and there are a lot of things that you can secure. Okay, so in order to secure your cars, like what you can do. Okay, so if you're a developer, you can consider API security as a prime thing during your early documentation stage itself. Okay, if you're a tester, shift left, try to test your APIs early and even often. Make it as a best practice, or make as a API security as your prime testing as part of your daily work. And lastly, if you're a business leader, right, make sure that API security is of your prime importance when it comes to anything, not only the cars, but any app that you are developing. With that, I'm open for a question. If you have any question, please go ahead. Do we have mic for them? Yep.
What are like some ways to make it?
Sorry?
Like how you can make them secure?
So basically, so there are, so if you heard of top 10 OSAP security standards, right? So you can follow those that I mentioned over here, right? Oh, let me just. So these are, common attack surfaces were there. You can just try to overcome those. You will be able to secure your APIs. For example, applying rate limiting on your API endpoints, or instead of giving excessive data exposure. For example, your UI. I'll just give an example. Okay. So if your app is connected to a fleet management system, and there is you're not required to give a lot of information stored or retrieved through an API. Just try to make sure that whatever the information is required, just return those information, not the excessive information. For example, sometimes it happens like I want let's say profile information of a user who is having a car booked with, let's say, a BMW. Okay, so on their portal, whenever their API gets called, right, the API itself returns profile information along with the other personally identifiable information, which is not required. On UI, you're not able to see it, but in the API response, you will be always there, and they will. Attacker just need a smaller gateway to go into the system, and if they are able to find a clue with that, right, they can execute a lot of attacks, and that's what I mentioned. The attacks are long run, so they try to analyze the API pattern, and they're able to get into the system. If I have to compare the front, like the front web attacks, right, to API attacks, if you could see the surface API, attack surface in API, it's very, very, very minimal. But it comes to web app, like user has to perform certain actions, like if there is a phishing mail, I need to click on there, and then the user is able to perform. If I don't click it, I'll not able to do it. But with the API, that is not the case. If you got an access to one API which is vulnerable, you can dig into the more information. Even, I forgot to mention one of the example is with the BMW, okay? BMW or Mercedes-Benz, I got confused. But the user was able to get access to the internal applications because their token was exposed with an SSO authentication, and they were able to access their internal systems with even the GitHub account where their source code for the internal applications was stored. Hope that answers your question. Yeah. Any other question? Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your time. And I'll be sharing those slide decks on the Prelex itself, so you'll be able to get it. I'll be sharing all the resources that I used to build this presentation, some of the IEEE papers that I also referred, and some of the websites that I referred to build this particular thing. So thank you. Thanks again.